Check. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise. Check. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise. I tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Please, Lord, forgive them. They try to hold back and chillin' like they ain't know it was written. Break every chain. Wanna free my people from mental prisons. The eyes on the sparrow, I know we'll narrow divisions. Hope is the vote to keep us afloat just as you envision. Faith to erase the pain from all of our people slain. Destined for change, actions to back up your spoken name. When they throw dirt on ours, we use it to plan game. When it rains, we go greater together, no matter the weather. Trust these dark days, gonna get better. Know that love will be the light to guide all our endeavors. And even if the tide should rise, we'll ride it forever. Why? We are mighty. We fight for our lives. Mutual stars, the timing is now. Like we proud, we're saying it loud. We gave it our all. There's so much more to give. We breaking down all the walls. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up.
Chat it up with us. Interesting time, so always something to talk about.
Tell them we gon' rise up. I tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Never backing down for the cause. Try to put our life on pause, cause we move in the image of God. No matter the hate, the smoking, our spirits remain unbroken. The divine man says you can't count us out. We are the answer. From the youth to the elders, ain't what you can tell us. Style and brilliance of mind, heart is bright as sunshine. Warrior spirits alive, so no, we won't be denied. So vibration is high and the frequency so angelic, like people come on. Rise up, rise up. These times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up.
Come on, family, get it. Come on, family. Rise up.
Yeah, woo! You heard Audrey.
Had to get you in here,
Audrey Gibbons. Rising up on a Monday night. Peace and blessing, family. You already know what it is. It's Soundbytes International Radio, Black Conscious the Claim.
One world is the aim.
Every day, all day, every day, bringing conversations according to our diasporic landscape to bring healing and empowerment to our people the world over. I'm Hasir Kanefra, and this is, of course,
to my Ra.
You already know. So it's Monday night, it's 9:30-ish p.m. So make sure you tuned in. If you're tuned in right now, you're more than likely tuned in, watching us live on our Facebook feed, the Book of Faces out here in these streets. Yes, so first things first, of course, we gotta let you know that if you're on Facebook or if you're viewing from afar through Facebook, then make sure you actually click that follow and like Soundbytes INT. Soundbytes INTL Radio, is the URL. So please make sure you follow that and like that. Also share with your people to do the same. Also follow us. We are broadcasting live via Periscope on Twitter, which is our Twitter is Soundbytes INTL. So you can make sure you hit that follow. And let's engage in those conversations on Twitter as well. And of course, in our third space of broadcast, we are broadcasting live right now on our YouTube. Thank you.
YT out here in these streets.
Soundbytes International Radio on YouTube. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button. We want to get over the hump of 100 followers, 100 subscribers, get build up. So let's get the family involved, get that subscribe on, so we can fully customize the experience. You did. So Soundbytes International Radio there, and of course, if you see them scrolling at the bottom, You can visit our website. This is soundbytes.com.
This is
soundbytes.com, where you can stay connected to our experience. You can also hit the follow button on our Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. You can follow our audio version of a podcast version of these episodes for the past 3 years of Soundbytes, the past 3 seasons. We're now in season 4. You can follow this conversation, take it with you wherever you go. Hit that, that 5-star.
Yeah.
Give us the reviews. Let us know what's popping. If you find value in what we bring. Also, if you do find value in what we bring, there is an opportunity to contribute and keep the energy flow going and keep the reciprocity going. There's a contribute button on our website at thisissoundbytes.com. There's also you can also contribute any size donation. It's all love, all gifts are appreciated. All donations,
thanks, family.
NG yields are appreciated at
Shame.
our Cash App, which is $Soundbytes Radio. So you already know what to do with that. Faux show.
Peace, family. Let's
absolutely,
do it.
absolutely.
All that housekeeping, all that stuff, get it out the way.
You gotta get that. You gotta get that stuff out the way.
Order.
That ish out the way.
Line it up nice and
stuff that helps
even.
sustain the nature of this
African
platform. You dig? So peace and blessings, brother Eric. Appreciate you. Hotep, and Dugu. Ashe.
Yeah.
BB for Hody. Yeah, indeed. Yes, sir, brother. So again, make sure if y'all find value in what we bring with this platform and you find value in the conversation, please make sure to share with your platform, with your peoples, them, and let's join in, check in, talk about them, talk abouts. So what's up? I don't know. That's a good question. Do the live watch parties happen while the thing is happening? I don't know.
But see, it's weird. So what they did was they messed up the whole share situation so that when you're sharing someone's stuff from outside, it actually looks like you're about to share a watch party. So you got to scroll down and do more options.
Yeah, they changed.
And when you go to more options, they
weird.
messed it up. They got things
stupid.
a little scrambling up because this is what they do. They confuse us and they create confusion. So you got to scroll down. You got to go into more options, and more options lets you, and then you'll be able to share it to your personal page, or you can take it and share it to groups from there, or you can just copy the link, do the copy, get the whole URL, all the coding, and then put that on another page, etc. That way, they just making it harder for us to get our message. And they started doing this around March, April-ish.
Yeah, they just
when the COVID messages was getting out,
effing up the
and
flow.
Then whatever. So they was doing that.
That's what they call trying to do their maintenance.
Family. This is what they do.
Speaking of free the brother Albert Wilson, they provide some education, but I'm personally not familiar with the brother. May he be well. So let us know what's up with the brother Albert Wilson, brother. Appreciate you. And yeah, so we're gonna talk about today. You already know it's Monday. It is election day eve. So a lot of energy's been floating around this whole thing. A lot of energy's been floating over the past 4 years. For really, a lot of other energy's been floating for the last 401 years.
Okay.
Same shit, different day. If you're really in tune with what your actual human experience is, African on this U.S. soil. But there's intricacies all in between that we want to hold on to that make us feel like we're more accepted and in tune with the matrix, which does not help us. But it's how we learn to get by, I suppose, and not die. But they've changed that too. So
shut up again on us, family.
So now we out here dying, and we need to really check in with what's next for us as the AfriKAN. So we want to talk about a little bit of the narrative of patriotism. And just looking at our place, in this conversation. So please share your thoughts with the conversation. We pretty much, as we said, we feed into you as you feed into us. It's a chat. We chatting. So I mean, it's something to really look into. A lot of what we've been pushing has been the vote, get out the vote, get out the vote. Vote is become just a really ginormous, at this point, downright grotesque propaganda tool of just getting people to do something. But don't get it wrong. We understand people say our ancestors, they fought to vote and all that type of stuff, and that's well and good. Voting is a piece.
For their rights.
Fought for their rights. Yes,
they fought for their human rights first.
They we in this place now with voting is one tool out of a very large toolbox that's necessary in order to fix the house, or deconstruct it and build a whole new house. And that, which is something we need to seriously consider, African. But and let's be clear what that looks like. We don't want to. What we want to be clear of is when we're falling into blind patriotism, and for what and for whom, or who is benefiting as a result. This idea of America, a lot of us are fighting now You know, and if I don't know if you want to
Thank
like
you.
jump into statistics or have you about it, but
Yeah, I'm gonna just jump in.
so I don't know you about that, but like, you know, really we're gonna look at this idea of like, you know, we're fighting for this soil because somehow we amidst of everything, amidst of all the fight, the hard foughteness of our elders and our ancestors, and you know, the enslaved Africans that were brought to this land that worked the land for nothing, other than trauma, pain, and strife, and then to be kind of kicked to the curb to fend for themselves in a whole new land and be treated as second class, and just kind of figuring it out, literally living out the years, living out the past 150 plus years, just trying to figure this shit out and make the most of what's in our hand. As a resilient people, we've been very, very good at that. You know, we're still here and striving, and on our worst day are doing amazing things. So if you're not even checking in with the power that you have as an African, check in the fuck with that. Despite all the traumas that have taken place. And
Dr. Bruce said, "You're a miracle. You're a sheer miracle just for still being here.
Just for still being here, and even for us to even have this broadcast, for us to talk shit and to,
Lord
the way
help
we
us.
do, but in all honesty and authentic and integrity with what's really happening, right? And to still stand, and a lot of our brothers have fallen. A lot of our brothers and sisters
so
are people in the struggle that didn't make it through. Like running, full steam ahead at this force, this beast that we face daily. But there's a lot of us that are still here. So that's something to, one, be grateful for, and two, use it as an opportunity to say that we can carry the baton and push forward in this fight because we still here, right? But let's be clear that, whatever tools the Matrix provides us is not necessarily a tool to use to destroy it. So we want to be clear on how we can create our own tools and be resourceful and resilient people that we've been, and actually create a real pathway to liberation for us. And stand our ground and hold those accountable in power to do what needs to be done, or we create our power somewhere else or in another fashion, right? I think
let's think outside the box.
Let's think outside the box than what we have been doing, because what we have been doing has not been working. Conformity to the system has not worked for us in our benefit. Integration within the system has actually not worked to our benefit. And yes, we worked within the segregation of the system and trying to make our own, but they didn't want that. Why? Because our self-efficacy means to them, in their mind, their self-destruction. So within that, we've had to fight to be just at peace, then fine. And that means integrating into your systems, which in turn means indoctrinating you, and in turn means you are now subjugated to the control of this power structure, and you have to abide by it in order to get by and stay alive. But now, African, if your eyes are not awakened yet, you should be, to understand that even that's not working anymore. We've run the course. So, and if you want to add some stuff on that.
So we're just gonna dig into this whole election as tomorrow kind of conversation a little bit.
Right.
We're always everything.
Before we get into this,
okay,
yes,
sure.
brother Reeks enlightened us on the brother Albert Wilson, falsely accused of rape in Lawrence, Kansas. Wow. And they gave him 12 years, knowing he was innocent, which is a lot of our brothers out there right now.
Well, that's what happened with the exonerated five.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
And we also, and this is another conversation that kind of segues us into this whole, perfectly positioned, for this conversation about 45. At the end of the day, when 53% of white women or the white community or what have you voted this gentleman into the office, that's a real generous. Riot. That's a generous.
That's a riot.
But voted 45 into office, it was already understood that he was a racist, he was bigoted, he was a small brat, typical, arrogant, wannabe white guy. I run into these types.
He's rich.
I run into these types of white guys all the time. So I don't really understand what the concept of shock is really about. So this is why I told you African earlier this week, mind your African business. Okay. Right, mind your African business, because what's happening with this stuff is not your business. There is a tale of two Americas. Our great mayor down here in Newark told us to watch Martin Luther King's speech on Vietnam. Watch Malcolm X's speech, Ballad of the Bullet. So there's a couple different pieces, and also watch Obama's acceptance speech in DC. But see, we have these pieces of information, and you are flooded inundated with information and truth. I have an issue with our lack of motivation to accept and apply truth to our lives and daily operations. So we're about to go and embark on tomorrow being this, everybody say push, push, push. And then there's a lot of folks in pockets who says that I'm not voting, I'm withholding my vote. There's other folks who are saying that, you know, and I'm a strong believer that this is the lesser of two evils. And I feel like in and of itself, having to make this particular choice, you know, either you go by the gun or you go by the fire. How you want me to do? You want me to chop your head off the guillotine, or you want me to shoot you out of a cannon? How you want to die? I'm just saying, pick your poison. Like, what choice do you have? So, but I'm also looking at a strategy in terms of a long-term situation and trajectory to what's next and what's possible for the African. You know, I already have this concept. There is no motivation in the matrix where this situation balances out for any reason other than what's in it for me, because that's what it always has been. Greatest indicator of the future is the past. Sankofa, go back and get it, you know, load yourself up and move forward. When you do that, you understand that where it was, there's no concept of building a nation within this country unless you have a military to protect it. We know that this American landscape, if they went on contract with us, they're not motivated to maintain that contract. We know these folks for being underhanded and deceptive. We know these folks for diabolical espionage, assassination attempts, coups. We know their character and behavior. So there's no need for anyone anywhere to feed you any illusion of any reality other than a maintenance conversation and then a finally step off and do your own thing conversation. Preparation for tomorrow. So as a collective, we can prepare for a actionable tomorrow. 42%, 42 million Africans, anywhere from 42 to 50 million Africans in this country. If every single African withheld his or her vote, if every single African withheld every single vote, this is strategic thinking. There are 328 million, roughly 328 million Americans on this soil. That is everybody on soil that they have as a result of July 1st, 2020 census numbers. If 42 to 50 million Africans withheld their votes, it still wouldn't be enough to move the letter of power on the landscape and the house built by slaves in Washington, D.C. It still wouldn't. So how is that reasonable for you to think that you're taking a position? I ain't voting because anybody gonna make me vote. Anybody gonna guilt me into voting. I don't feel like I should have to choose the guillotine or the cannon.
Right.
It's a team effort. Ubuntu. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, which means maintenance for now, step off later, because the goal is sovereignty. Right. It's to reach a place of nation building. And America has laws in place that would not allow you to make the necessary steps to create sovereignty on American soil. They have laws in place that will not allow you to make the types of moves that it would require for you to solidify, fortify an African nation within America. Okay, you will not be able to create a military in this country. If you plan on building anything in America, you have to fortify. And you will not be able to. They attacked the Black Panther self-defense, the Black Panther Party for self-defense, because they were building an army for defense, which they're supposed to, because they were being attacked, coming off the cusp of Jim Crow South and all the other types of harm that was coming to African people. And this government refused to intervene on our behalf. In fact, they joined the intimidation tactics and methodology, which they do to this day. So African, mind your African business, because there's no narrative where this turns out well on a shaking hand and write something on a little piece of paper here, create an executive order of any kind for the African, where the African ends out on top. Even if we got reparations tomorrow, it does not end with sovereignty and nation building for the African on American soil, the way that the system is now created. And I've done the research forward, backward, all up and through and everywhere else. In application and strategy, there is no narrative. We can build businesses from the corner to the other corners of the earth. At the end of the day, in order for us to make the kind of money that would supply us to be able to be a nation, we're going to need someone to do they need people to buy from us. You're going to need to go to those other people who are gatekeepers at those other doors because we don't have the infrastructure to do distribution. See, wherever you go, there's going to be a barrier, and it was created like there's a labyrinth. If you don't understand the matrix, what it is, how it works, everything else you think you know will only confuse you. I hear a lot of plans about a lot of different things, and they never make full sense to me because it has the African trapped in a labyrinth. Every corner you make, now we can do let's make some money for now, but the African don't have to do nothing right now. The African is $1 trillion annually right now without doing anything different. So we don't actually have to make everybody have a business and everybody go run around and do. Right. It's not actually necessary. This is what I call shuffling papers,
right,
and creating confusion.
Right, and the narrative, our narrative is what keeps driving us. We constantly keep falling victim to these outward narratives about us, like, oh, we're poor, we're broke. No, it's where we're putting our money. We've been conditioned to believe our money is going to certain places that it don't need to be. We actually have the economic power. And that's where the actual movement should be. Because the vote is like, this is not saying like whatever, don't vote, no whatever.
No, I'm not saying that.
This is not saying don't vote, whatever. What we're saying is that even the making a staunch position around not voting is actually not really making a position that anyone can actually give a fuck about. So being in just like that part is just that part, because that's a singular action. However, economic power, our dollars is what really goes a long way in the way this company, this company, I was actually right. This company called the U.S. Operates because it's commerce, it's trade, it's business transactions, it's all business. And the African dollar is the most prized dollar within this business because we are the highest consumers. We're too liquid. That's right. We're too liquid, and we're a cash cow to the U.S. system. Our money around because we've been a lot of our economic infrastructure has been so shut down. We feel. That's not true, but we feel we have no other place to spend our money that is African. We actually do have the skill sets. We have the wherewithal per se to do these businesses and things like that and operate in the same vein as any other business that takes place. But we've been so conditioned to believe that we don't have it, that we're spending our money in all these other places and all these other neighborhoods and with all these other cultures, whether European, Asian, whatever. It doesn't matter. The majority of our money is not going back to our communities. And we actually have that power, and that's what they love. That's another. Even if like you said, they held the vote. It's like, okay, well, they held the vote. So they held whatever.
Did you know that Latino Hispanic is 18%? They beat us by 2%.
So they're all. Like,
so if we had withheld our votes and they gave their votes, that's the end of that conversation yet again. So I'm talking about strategy. I'm not talking about like emotions and feelings and like. You rah-rousing and you just talking and you just belligerently, because we got a lot of that. We do a lot of that in our community. We just blabber it on and we don't consider the labyrinth, right? If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is, how it works, everything else you think you know will only confuse you. So you must take all these pieces of information and you and then you need to segue those information, synthesize them, and then you need to think on a whole different level when it comes to now project management and strategy, international. You got this all of these different spaces where I say to you, African, be telling you for some time now, in order for you to get a full landscape of this, you really want to brush up on all these areas. And then we have all these different leaders and different spaces who've made great contributions.
Sister Sheena, thank you. Peace and blessings. Bless you.
Who've made great contributions to our academic space and our scholarship so that you don't personally have to go do all this research. Right. So you have access to all the venues, because when I was gathering this information, I have a natural knack for order. So I pulled this information, came into my spirit in a particular trajectory that allowed me access to information. And to catalog that information. We're so busy and sometimes it's important that we look at this information with the strategy. Mind your African business.
Gotta stay grounded.
This is the tale of two Americas. I say to you, African, America is not broken.
It's
killing
operating as
African people,
as it was intended.
Having police accost children, 15-year-olds. I saw a video with a police officer cuffing a 7-year-old child. I saw this. I saw a white cop dive, a wrestling move dive in the back of a 15-year-old little girl out here in Park Slope, not Park Slope.
It was
Clinton Hills, Brooklyn, in a private school. She was wearing a private school uniform. This is about 3 years ago.
Oh,
she was wearing a private school uniform.
I know it was the
he dived into this girl's back like it was wrestling move, like it was a wrestling move. If that was my child, that officer wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I promise you. I'd be his worst nightmare every day. Sun up to sundown. Sun up to sundown. You're not gonna put your hands on my child.
I think it's about the officer that arrested or whatever he did, body slammed that one black, the young black girl that was by the pool, the neighborhood pool.
Okay, so that's one. I saw another video with a school safety officer pulling a little black girl out of a chair, and he slammed her down with the chair.
I remember that.
15. This is what they're doing to our children. The system is not broken. It makes me mad. I'm angry. I'm pissed off about it because at the end of the day, I did not agree to be born in America. I didn't agree to be coming into this world in these conditions. I'm here.
Yeah.
You're here. Don't get fooled by skinning and grinning, smiling faces, because at the end of the day, the system is not broken. Mm-hmm. You were still in handcuffs. You were still on the slave patrol trying to get free in 1776. The system is working perfectly. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. I need for our people and leadership to tell our people this exactly. It's not fair. It's not nice that police harass African people and they lay on our brother George Floyd Ashe for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It's not nice, but it is the way that it always has been done in America. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not consent to our own demise. Let's not consent to the illusion of inclusion. Let's not consent because we got our little piecemeal here and there, and some of us get a little space, right, that allow us to get a little bit of, it's not as tight in here.
Room and
It's not as tight as it was, for instance, when they had us living out in the outhouse and with the dogs and the pigs.
Yeah. When
they had us eating from the trough with the rest of the animals. It's not as tight.
Just don't rabble rouse. It'll get tight again real quick.
But you know what happens when you rabble rouse?
Mm-hmm.
I.e. what they did to the Black Panther Party.
Absolutely.
I.e. how they dismantled every other determination effort, for African people's self-determination. Intentionally, it was this government. So I want everyone to really be clear that the matrix functions the way it should. Now, if we're going to make a strategy for tomorrow or for a trajectory, like I said, African, anything as far as the African is concerned, it clocks in and it clocks out. It may very well be a reasonable strategy to create a timeline when everybody is galvanized that we leave in here in 25 years. You know what? This is our plan. They give it what they give us. They give us whatever they're giving us. It might be a moment to retreat and regroup. That might be an option. Because at the end of the day, you fighting and you don't really you got a knife at a gunfight. Mm-hmm. Everything, anywhere that I've ever heard anywhere, read anywhere, is a knife at a gunfight when you're talking about this American matrix. If you understand, Neely Fuller said, if you understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, you know you wielding a knife fight, even with powernomics.
Mm-hmm.
Shouts out and much respect to the good Dr. Claude Anderson, right? But I'm here to tell you, if you in business in the matrix, you're still beholding to the matrix. You got your license with the matrix. You're banking with the matrix. You're doing business. Either you're peddling garbage to your community, which a lot of us are doing for our coin. We're further rocking our people to sleep. We're further feeding garbage to our community in various ways, gluttonous, excess and gluttony, excess in a lot of things that are taking us off focus. We're peddling this garbage to our community. We're doing it so we can get our come up, so we can participate in the matrix, so we can do what? Because you won't get free. You're just going deeper into the labyrinth. So where's the narrative happening at where the African actually ends up with sovereignty and freedom?
Okay.
At what point do this trajectory get us there? Because that's how I devise solutions. I'm a solution-based thinker. If the things you're doing are not putting you on par or on track to achieving your desired effect, then it's ineffective. Then get off that track. And sometimes you need 2 or 3 steps before you get on track. African, you're in the 3rd leg of an 8-leg race. How do you win this race?
I want to check in with the comments and peace and blessing everybody that's joining in. The peace and blessings to brother, absolutely, brother Kwame, sister Sheena, thank you for joining in. Brother Rob, Ashe, thank you for joining in. Find by in conversation. Please share with your family, your peoples, and continue to join the conversation. Sister Lotus says it hasn't made a difference over the course of our lives whom we vote for. Everything is still the same internally. Ashe, it's been a crazy time to like having, you pick and choose and change the face. It's still the same situation.
It's not fair if we leave our children in the same mess that we inherited. It's not fair.
Fighting what our grandparents parents fought for.
Let's tell the truth.
Brother Arik says, I just want to know what and this is what I think we want to really get to in this conversation, Brother Arik, in general, is I just want to know what are we prepared to do when nothing changes. Don't get me wrong, I'm voting. I just feel like, okay, know the game.
Strategy out here.
I just feel like it will not make a difference as it didn't in the last election, nor it didn't in the election when Gore won the popular vote but lost in court. Ashe, brother, and that's something we need to dig deep into.
And that's where we are.
Sister Sheena says it's always been that way. We are being misled by what they say reality is. That's why it's all twisted.
It's very twisted, family. And they misleading us. And I have a problem with misleading the family. Like, this is not cool.
Absolutely. Sister Sheena also says, you think you're free, but the shoes on most feet are the same chains and shackles our ancestors wore. Listen, you slave for what they dangle in your face, but since they gave you a title at your job, your mindset tells you you're free, but they know all your hard-earned money is going right back in the system.
Come on, Sheena
came to tell y'all something.
Tell them I'm speaking to them now, or shame the devil. She came on here to tell you what a TI is. And see, I run into a situation because, just to put it out there, like full transparency, I'm between a rock and a hard place, right? Because technically, this is what happens when you come out on the other end with this education. You're supposed to segue yourself and then go over there to the matrix and give all your first fruit, everything you learned and everything you've cultivated and all these accolades. You're supposed to take them to the matrix and cash them in. And since I'm trying to sit here with the family and not peddle garbage to the community, and I'm in the community who is not in a space to embrace or even to understand there's a need to embrace what we're offering here. You understand? So technically, in order for me to quote unquote survive, the diabolical nature of the mix on the social landscape is created where it automatically creates division. Where you have people like what's his name? Lil Wayne come straight out the gutter talking about he's never experienced racism.
You don't know what that's about.
He's never experienced it. See, this is what happens when you come straight out the gutter, when you are an absolute product of the madness in this matrix. And then you go over here for 15, 20 years, and suddenly your mind turns to mush. This is what happens. Because you can't cash these things in nowhere but in the matrix. They have no value nowhere else.
And here's where that diabolical play comes into play, is when you have someone who's in this mindset after all that, because of the one time or two where a smiling white face showed him some grace or showed him that he was.
I will tell you the heartbeat. I've been shown much grace by white people one-on-one contact. We're not talking about one-on-one contact.
But look at how that's the shape, and that's why it's all by design. Is that now that you've been in this pressure cooker of dealing with the vacant esteem and the learned helplessness into people, you learn this idea of self-hatred, being confined in a space where you and your people, you got to fight your peoples. Now your peoples are your enemy. So as long as that white face comes in to save you, quote unquote, from your pain and your trauma, even though the back end is that they helped design it, then you're gonna have this whole misguided view of what that actually looks like, who your enemy is, right? And the media plays a big role in that. You can see what they do to brother Ice Cube, what they did to brother Bill Cosby, what they did to however it is shaped to make the narrative make sense for the Matrix to win. That's what's going to be done by any means. It's only a matter of time. Like you see this kind of like there's if you watch closely, you see there's a fence being peddled with brothers like Jay-Z and Killer Mike and Beyonce.
Because they know who's buttering their bread.
It's only a matter of time.
Know who's buttering their bread
before that turns off. They take that once they're approaching the cliff. The moment they take that one edge, that's where your money going? Oh, okay.
No, they don't. Listen, first of all, and listen, having been a person who worked in that space, I'm here to tell you them folks don't have their money. They don't have access to their money. They cannot just walk over there and do what they want to do with their money. All them numbers and stuff that they be talking about, all of that's for the magazines, you know, for the stats, for the IMDb, for the discography, for ASCAP. All of that stuff is for show, for the lifestyles of rich and famous, so that they can continue to peddle this notion of anybody, even a high school dropout from the gutter who used to sell dope, can become this guy who's peddling with the big bosses. If that cipher, if that space is, if you credit that space, I don't credit that space, right? It means nothing to me. In fact, I'm looking over it and I'm saying, you're worse off. You're worse off. You have been better off staying out here with the crackheads than going over there and selling your soul. What profits it a man to gain the world and lose his soul?
Still sticking about
it.
Exactly.
So I don't credit those things. So when I see that happening in my space and my cipher, I'm like, okay, so I see how you moving, because you know them by their fruit. At the end of the day, we are not really creating solutions that are going to end our people on the trajectory for sovereignty. How do we get sold this notion of patriotism? Where did these things come from? They indoctrinated us with the Statue of Liberty. That helped everybody else, because Africans, we didn't immigrate here. Right, Africans? Right, Africans, descendants of people stolen from Africa. We didn't immigrate to this country. So that Statue of Liberty don't mean nothing to me. Don't mean nothing to us. In fact, the Statue of Liberty that they have right now isn't even the one that was initially given to America by France. Okay? The actual Statue of Liberty original Statue of Liberty was black. Period. Okay? They sent it back. Then they came back with this one. Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about how long fight to get them to expose the chains. When they sent back the second one, they got back this new Statue of Liberty and gave her more Eurocentric features, and put her and draped her in this kind of gown or whatever they got her draped in. The chains were in her hand. Party. America said, no, we don't like that either. So they put the chains on her feet. And the only way you can see the chains on her feet is if you're in the sky. And if you're taking the tour, or if you're inside the Statue of Liberty, you will not see the chains. So Dr. Joy DeGruy went on a big fight with these folks to get these folks to add it to their tour. That they put a segment in the tour where they talk about the chains specifically.
There's actually a point even within the tour inside where the actual, was it the schematic of it, what have you, or the original image was they call themselves having as part of, like, I guess that museum portion, but it was in the back somewhere behind something else
where you couldn't even see it. The
so
fact that there was a different Statue of Liberty.
There was a different Statue of Liberty.
Okay, but this is how the Matrix works. And it's important that you know this so you can talk to your children about this, because you have to arm your children with the right knowledge. You cannot allow this Matrix to indoctrinate our children into self-hatred, because that is what has happened. We have 50-year-olds who are shuffling papers because they have thoroughly been indoctrinated into self-hatred. How do we buy into this ideology of patriotism for America when we didn't immigrate here? We didn't come here for the opportunities, right? We didn't come here for that. We came here in chains.
But let Texas tell it we was migrant workers. We just came through, like they had applications for America on fucking Indeed. He was like,
let's go like, yeah, they hiring over there. Let me go through there. They hiring.
Let's go see what they talking about over there at America.
They brought us over here in chains. They branded us like they did the cattle. They insured us like they did the merch on the ships. Okay, they got investors like they do any other business endeavor. You present to your investors. You get some angel investors. You get some countries or some profiteers, financiers who are going to invest in your endeavor. And at that time, it was piracy, or they want to call it discovery. Or, they have these individuals going navigating the seas and bringing back riches to European countries. I'm here to tell you, let's not get twisted. You have to teach your children the truth. How do we get indoctrinated to this patriotism? Football, national anthem,
American pie.
Every year in school, they had, I can't even remember that lady name. I mean, her and her son, it really bores me. I'm not a Christian, you know that, but they had prayer in school. America is supposed to be built on Christian values. Same Christian values that right after Sunday church, they come over here and for recreation, we're going to barbecue us, a charbroil us, a black man. We're going to dip them down and burn them a little, pull them back up. Dip them down a little bit more, pull them back up. Dip them back down, pull them back up. The whole town is going to come out for this great festivities to see us charbroil us a Negroid.
Snatch some,
Right.
some
That's what we
babies
gonna
out
do.
of some wombs real
And
quick.
we're just gonna,
feed some babies to
we're
some
gonna build a brick
alligators.
wall in our bedroom with our wife so that we can house 12-year-old children in case we want to get our kicks. That's how we're gonna roll because this is a Christian society here. So initially, prayers was in school. Prayer was in school. Took prayer out of school. They did not take the statue of the swearing of the flag, because I was a color guard many times. I didn't know no better. My parents didn't tell me nothing different. My parents gave me the Bible, and we watched the news every night back in the day when TV used to go off, when they used to play the national anthem horns at the end of TV, and you see the American flag. So that's how we got indoctrinated in our sign, in our eyes, and our subliminal messaging, and how we took in this indoctrination very subtly, and we just got all happy about it. And then once they gave us a little piece of the pie, right between dropping the hammer down on our self-efficacy, self-determination efforts of the 50s and 60s and 70s, they fed the streets heroin. The Italians, the Irish, and the Jews was out there selling dope and running numbers and running alcohol in communities of color, family. And then they legitimized their businesses around the 80s, 90s, and laundered their money, and all of these things, right? And they switched over stuff, right? And then they gave Africans microloans, education. Oh, now you can buy into this American country because everybody, my father came over here with $20 in his pocket. Oh, you happen to be Hungarian. Oh, you happen to be Irish. Oh, that's right. You're Jewish. I mean, like those narratives have nothing but no bearing on Africans. None. So don't get fooled in that either. I'm not talking about hard times. Nobody is outside of hard times. Anybody can have hard times, but African people's circumstance is beyond hard times. We in a whole nother class by ourselves entirely, and has nothing to do with wanting special privilege, because it's not about privilege. Humanity is given to you when you draw your first breath from the divine. So nobody has the right to impede upon that experience, period. And the very fact that this space has impeded on the African's ability to breathe is an issue, and that has nothing to do with privilege. Okay, how do we get indoctrinated? Football,
baseball.
Oh, who's singing at the game? Who's singing at the game? Beyonce gonna sing the statue.
The latest hot singer.
Whitney Houston gonna sing it.
And then you gotta be like, well, ain't nobody gonna type it like Whitney.
Anybody gonna do it like Whitney? Anybody gonna do it like
one now? It's just like and all these different pieces. Like, what else you got? Apple pie. You got
apple pie.
Hello,
folks. How did you get indoctrinated? Tell me about it.
No, literally, yeah.
How did we? I need you to put it on the comments.
Let us know.
How did we as a community?
What were some of the tools you've seen
that used to help us indoctrinate us into patriotism of this American system?
This is your live quiz. So let's throw them in the comments. Let us know what you think. But like, what else we got out here? I feel like I just shed a lot of them. Brother Kwame says church and school.
Oh, church and school.
There it is.
We talked about school already when they had us up there doing the color guard. And listen, when you was coming up in my age group, and I was in the gifted and the talented program, so that already they start you understanding segregation from childhood, from small. These kids over here, the gifted and talented, and everybody else over here, right? So, and then you're in the gifted and talented, you get first dibs on being color guard. Your teacher is going to decide who's going to be color guard. You know how many times I was color guard? I wanted to be color guard because color guard walk out front with the American flag, and I was so proud of myself.
I got to a point I was like, man, fuck y'all. I don't want to be color guard. No. I know it was color guard.
I was color guard.
It was probably
I also was tall.
Oh, wow.
And I always stood out because I was in the back of the line, and my principal knew my grandmother very well. So a lot of people saw me a lot. What'd you say? Music.
Yeah, Sister Sheena says music is the most misleading tool. The music has changed. Sheena was color guard. Okay, he was
a color guard. We thought that was something special out here to carry this American flag when we sitting up here. It's almost like the animals eating their young.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brother Reek says our family was members who've been missing, who've been miseducated. Like, I mean, yeah, they're carrying the torch of that patriotism. They're carrying the torch of that indoctrination. Sheena, I'm sure, with a big voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Let him know.
Okay.
Let him know.
I was out there doing a thing.
Sister Lotus says welfare and child support. Ooh.
Okay.
Listen,
and then they had the worker come in the
government
house checking under your bed. My grandmother
programs,
told me about this. I ain't know nothing about it.
What are ways we can make you dependent on the system,
On the
so that the
system.
moment we can take it away, Daniel, like
We
a
can
carrot in
control
front of a
you.
horse, the moment we take it away, you are at our will. No more of that. We need to break
African,
free
what
of
we
that.
talking about here? So we got people at the table asking for stuff. We don't have people at the table. So this is how the Matrix manipulated us into this concept of patriotism. And we're going to also talk about the military. So we had our people at one time wanted to be human. They wanted to be valued. And we thought we were in communication with individuals who had the type of experience with human beings as we did. So we felt like if we went and fought in war with them and helped them win, in which we did, right? You know, Tuskegee Airmen, except right. If we did that, then we get some respect, right? Didn't help none, right? And we kept going on and we kept putting ourselves in places to be able to quote unquote earn. Why are we earning? The divine already gave you. You don't have to earn nothing from no one, period. And no one actually can permit you. What's happening right now in this African landscape is intimidation, manipulation, and threats, bullying. Bullying, that's it. That's the only reason why African people, and at this point, African people have been so diabolically, Dr. Umar said, profoundly disrupted that we just give in.
We're in a process, so it's absolutely
and
being
we're in our
disrupted.
healing curve.
We're constantly being disrupted. It's like
we are disrupted in our spirit, in our energy.
It's like, imagine reading a good book and you constantly have somebody come up and just interrupting you, and you 2 pages away from that next step. That's what it's like. You're constantly in your process
every time,
every single time.
Derailed.
Never finishing the chapter. You try and finish the book, you can't even get to the chapter. This is what it's like.
And you can't process it. Now, guess what?
Now you got to start over.
This matrix just started over again on us, right here in the middle.
There's a new edition.
It started. That's right, new edition. It started, changed the rules of the game. And then you know what we got? We have attrition rate. We're going to lose some people. You know why we're going to lose some people? Because we got people who don't have the skill to keep up. We got people who are still stuck in the past. We got people who have not upgraded their skills to be able to stay current. So the matrix just reset on us. And I've been saying this for this long. I really wish I had the ability to be like that voice, to be like that catapult and catalyst to cause this thing to occur. Because I've been saying this for over 20 years. African, we didn't have to let the matrix do this to us. We could have put this country on pause 20 years ago.
Okay.
If our leadership is saying this to us, we don't need to play nice. We don't need to march nice. We don't need to talk nice to nobody. We don't owe nobody anything. We don't owe nobody anything. We don't have to compromise. I don't have to. I told you the matrix is working the way that it wants to. Power concedes to nothing but power. The only way to force the hand of the matrix is to take a major stand. I'm not here for losing anyone. I don't want any attrition. I don't want any casualties. But I would like for us to come together as a collective and withhold ourselves, our energy, our place, our being, and everything, and just shut ourselves off and say, you know what, if you want to talk to us, you know what to do.
Holla at us.
That's it. Because talking nice and trying to sit at round tables and compromise, it's not going to work. So what do you do to prepare to be able to shut your wall down? You got to teach your people how to make their own food. You got to teach your people, because these are the ways the matrix is going to get to us. It's going to make us sick. It's doing it with COVID. It's been doing it with everything else. We have to strengthen our people's minds and spirits so that they don't get weak and fall victim to self-medicating, which we've been doing. We've been doing. We have to cut off
and that stifles our process if we're not doing it carefully, because it becomes coping mechanisms, which we start victimizing ourselves through those vices, and then those become the new masters.
We've been doing it. Then what we do? We have to cut off every mechanism of reach that the matrix had to get to us if we're going to cut ourselves off from the environment.
It takes a collective effort, though.
You have to teach your people how to make food. Everyone needs to be trained on first aid, CPR.
Yes.
How to do a basic stitch. Everyone needs to be fortified with our elder Malemu Baruti. He has the Common Sense book. You need to know about personal security, community security, home security. You need to know about this because you know the matrix is functioning the way that it is, and people are not going to be happy with you disrupting their party.
And it has to move like a second muscle.
It has to move like a second muscle. See, right now we still got too many people who are too antsy. They don't know what to do. They sidestep and they try straddling the fence. And they're out here trying to work the gray area.
Finding a way to talk their way out of it, and now they don't want to introduce confusion into the space. And brother Kwame Ture said confusion is the greatest enemy to revolution. All day, every day, we got confusion.
We got confusion. Families have said building back black.
Okay, boom.
It's a different concept of consciousness. First of all, African people want to have this issue because they feel like, well, if I start thinking about this, I'm gonna be against white people. I don't want to be against white people. I don't want to be against them. I'm not mad with them. First of all, if you're thinking about white people, you're not even on par with what we're talking about.
That's not even a conversation.
You got to go and come again because white folks are not a part of this conversation.
That's symptomatic.
We're talking about the matrix. We're talking about a system of oppression that impedes sovereignty for African people. I have had good interactions with one-on-one white folks. I haven't had a Karen. I had a Karen and her husband about 8 years ago or so. But it wasn't that bad. And it was up here in New York City on 77th Street.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. I lived in Nashville, Tennessee and Atlanta for over 10 years. I never had interaction with a racist experience with a white person one-on-one. Okay. Yeah. In fact, white people in the South went out of their way to be extra nice to me. I'm just saying. I mean, I've been black a long time. This just didn't happen yesterday. Okay. So I've been vibrating
up in here.
I was Afro. I was really Afroed out when I was a Sada Shakur, big Afro back in 7-inch Afro when I was in Tennessee at the bank, and they had to see my face when they walk in the bank. So here it is. But I experienced this in in New York. But I don't have interactions on one-on-one, but I do have interactions on a global space. So when Lil Wayne says he's not experiencing racism, what bubble is he living in? What bubble? Because you're social media. Even if you're not in the hood, which he's not, you still got social media. You still saw 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And African people are coded a certain type of way that we are intently entrenched in sharing energy with one another. So what happened to that man inadvertently is going to cause trauma to anybody who watches that video, including white people. Well, see, you got to work on you. Let white folks work on them.
That's when capitalism becomes weaponized.
Let white folks work on them. You work on you. You work on your community. This is not about you got to be mad with white folks. Yeah. And if white folks if anybody you know that's white folks make you have to choose, they ain't your friend anyway.
Listen,
because you shouldn't have to pick between the benefit of yourself and your children to be their friend.
And I feel like that's a fresh part of the conversation for a lot of people because that's been the long association. Well, what do you think of racism? What do you think of systemic oppression? The first thing that they'll generally come in the base level of a black person is aware of anything that's happening is a white person or a redneck or whatever case may be. That's actually not the case. There's actually a whole deeper consciousness that surpasses them. Right? It surpasses them, and it actually permeates its way into all other people's as a means to. It's like the agents in the Matrix. The agent touch somebody, that person becomes an agent.
That's right.
It doesn't even matter who they are. It could be an old lady, it could be a dog, it could be the black grocer.
You are one of them,
and that's what it ends up becoming.
It has to become muscle memory.
So you have to think beyond like the physical of just this person, right? They're the symptom to a larger virus. The larger virus, that being the system itself. The system that keeps on running by keeping confusion in your space. So you'll never know if the system is actually the one that's in play that has you running in a circle like a damn mouse.
Know this. African, we're going to take a brief break. I'm going to tell you really quickly. We're going to come back on this. I want you to see this. So big announcement. I'm not
switching gears.
Really quickly, just to plug something in. So we have a Wednesday series, African in Business, where we highlight businesses that specifically support African people. Listen, I'm talking about a maintenance conversation. Since we're not all checking out and leaving here tomorrow, all 42 million Africans is not packing out one bag of shit and leaving here. Okay, we here for a hot minute. So what we do here, I don't personally endorse much. No. I have a very high standard when it comes to the African community because there's so much shit in our space. Right. So I have my sister here. She has a business cosmetics. Nia Cosmetics, and because I've been using her products for over 4 years, and I have this regimen that I use, and I just was like, hey, since I'm gonna share this little video, my little regimen, here, you can use it for your media or whatever. She done went and named the skin box behind me, so now there's a Nephara skin box with Nia Cosmetics, and if you order it and use the discount code KEYS2SOAR20, You get 15% off your purchase. I'm gonna play I'm gonna listen, you guys. Watch a little quick 2-minute commercial and we'll come right back. Okay. Check out Nia Cosmetics.
Okay.
Okay, out here.
You know how that go. So make sure you get your Nephra skin box.
Nephra skin box, y'all.
You know, there's one thing we can do is
we can
get your skin right.
Get your skin right, AfriKAN, because you know what it is. Good skin, this is what it is right here. Beautiful skin. Don't let the smooth face fool ya. So yes, beloved, and the products, I know she makes them. They're handmade, they're homemade, they're organic, they're good ingredients, they're quality ingredients. And listen, she's the one who she just went bananas with all the stuff that she was buying off the street. Okay. And so she just decided to create this business of her own, and she's been doing this for years now. And
Sheena, get you some, Sheena.
You want to get into that. So that's my regimen. So, and my grandmother said, you always got to moisturize it. You got to use that vitamin C. That vitamin C helps with your collagen in your skin, helps keep your skin tight and strong and vibrant. So you have glowing skin even when you're not wearing makeup, okay? So here it is, family. I actually just learned to wear makeup myself recently over the past 10 years or so. I've progressively gotten better with my skill. But prior to that, I really wasn't into makeup, right? So get into, the Nephra skin box. Okay. Blessings that honored me out here in these streets, and named this box behind me. So that is so sweet. Absolutely. Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate that. Lifting the sister up. And we're going to listen. And on this Wednesday coming up, we're going to have a black man beekeeper, y'all, up in here called Apiary in the Sky. We do it all.
Okay. Listen, so we want to lift up what's going on with our multifaceted skills out here. So
you better know it.
So for our AfriKAN in Business series, we're going to have the good brother Marcellus Counts, who's the founder and executive director of Apiary in the Sky. Apiary, basically, he's beekeeping, right? And creating a space for bees to flourish and do what they need to do, not only just for creating honey, but for the environment. I'll be clear. Our bees are very important to our environmental,
70% of our food,
our ecosystem. Absolutely. So bees, they pollinate our plants, the plants that we grow that create the vegetables that we eat, right? So they're crucial to our ecosystem. That's so we're going to talk to the brother Marcellus Counts this Wednesday at 9 p.m. for our AfriKAN in Business series. AfriKAN in Business series right here at 9 p.m. on our Facebook channel. So make sure you tune in for that live, and we'll talk to the brother. You can get some information around what that experience
self-sustaining
is. It's your life. Okay.
Self-sustaining. So we're here for self-sustaining. We're on trajectory for sovereignty for the African. That's the point.
Absolutely.
The point is not to get business and be a baller and shot call out here in America, because you can ball and shot call and buy cars and yachts and build houses and do all of these things. You still have to live in this space that creates harm to other people in your community. So there's no way to balance the space. The matrix is not designed for all 42 million of these Africans to be in an equitable space with the other individuals in this space. According to the census, it's saying that white people, all white people, represent 78% of the population. But if you take white people, non-Latino, non-Hispanic, they represent 60.7% of the American population. I mean, I'm here to tell you, I personally believe that those stats have been skewed for the past 40 years.
Listen, come on.
They've discovered ways to inflate their numbers. And they've also given specific citizenship to certain types of individuals in order to try to balance their numbers and all these different things. But we want to be clear of the matrix. We want to be clear. If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is, how it works, everything else you think you know will only confuse you. And let me explain something to you. Don't let white folks corner you and guilt you, okay, and force you into a situation of choice. Always choose self-preservation. Every organism is entitled to self-preservation. The only thing I want to know from any white person, which I never get into this conversation, because anybody who's white who's in my space, they know where I stand real clear. I'm real strong with that line in the sand right there. And they either are about this life or they're not about this life. And if they're not about this life, they're not in my space.
Right.
Period. With integrity. Okay. And I don't hold no punches around that, because only thing you can say to me is, are you putting your whiteness on my son every day to protect him? Are you putting your whiteness out there to protect the children in my community? Are you putting your whiteness in front of these police officers to keep them from doing what they're doing in our community? Are you taking your whiteness down there to the 45 to make sure that they level off some coin for my community that's having issues out here with this COVID hitting it so hard? Are you putting your whiteness in front of education to ensure that my children are indoctrinated foolishness, as they have been, that has supported whiteness, but it has caused these children to have self-hatred? The system as it is has actually educated our adults. Children coming through the matrix have become a situation of self-hatred because of the way that they have been educated within the matrix. So if your whiteness isn't making any of those concessions, you can take it and go. Yeah. I'm done. That's a short conversation. And be clear about it.
And we need to have a short conversation. We've been too good with the long conversation to the point where they just tuned out the beginning parts of it. You tuned out the mechanism. Now it's just, okay, what else?
They just talking about symptoms.
I'm a black friend. Cool. You know, you
the one black friend.
You're the cool black
right?
friend.
The cool black person that they get to,
no more cool black
you
person.
use as a token.
No more code switching.
I'm tired of you Africans. Are you married to these white folks? You better be having real conversations with them. Because you've been hollowed out and you've been succumbing. You're not present. Because our condition as a community demonstrates that you haven't been present. White people are literally walking around here, they're shocked. They don't know what the hell why are these people acting like this? What is happening? This is not new news in our community. You know, I was always taught, don't air your dirty laundry out. So that's another problem in our community. My professor said the squeaky wheel gets oil. So because you don't air your dirty laundry, you're not putting your card out there because you're trying to pander to white folks, because that was trained on African people. I was trained coming up from my grandparents because my grandmother knew how dangerous white people was. She lost her friend at 10 years old, a child hung from a tree for no reason at all.
Grandmother.
My grandmother.
Not
little black boy.
great grandmother.
My grandmother. She passed away 2 years ago. She had a little friend who used to teach her the lesson, but she had to stop going to school because she had a brother who died. This boy was hanging from a tree 3 days later. They walked down the same road going to this school. When they say they walked down the road 5 miles to school, is for real. And they found him hanging from a tree. From then on, her spirit was very different around dealing with white folks. See, it's unfortunate that so many of us need to have an experience. We don't actually have to have an experience. We have the writing on the wall right here. History is the greatest indicator of the past, is the greatest indicator of the future. The Matrix has no problem with genocidal communities. There are individuals.
That's clear.
I'm looking at the census here. The indigenous of this land is 1.8. 1.8 indigenous of this land. Okay, so the Matrix is all right with genocide on people and communities. No problem. Tasmanians are gone. They're gone. I'm just saying. Many of the Congolese, they're gone. I'm just saying. That means all of their knowledge, all of their history, culture, that which
language.
Is, you cannot put a price on what is missing because they are no longer here. And then they show you National Geographics and they show you PBS of all of their discoveries when all this information was already here and available. We don't need to see PBS to see you discovering and going up in the caves and pulling out the ancestors and all. We don't need to see that because there were already discovery. There was already intelligence here that already had that information. See, so you got to shift your prism, African, in the way that you are interacting with the space. And you got to mind your African business because this is indeed the tale of two Americas. And it was not your fault. I'm only surviving the circumstances that you created. And self-preservation is the first rule of nature. So you should be protecting yourself and your children. Do not leave our children the way we received this mess. 2020 has been the year of absolute clarity. We know now. So that means you are under conviction of what you know. You cannot get plugged back into the matrix and go back to
whatever you think you was going to be, whatever you think you're experiencing, trust and believe, it is something we asked for. It just looked a little different. But sure enough, we got clarity around a lot of things. If you really want to assess this landscape of what's been happening this year, we got clarity. For those that weren't clear, you're clear now. I hope.
She said crystal clear. What does this say? Sheena, what you say?
So Sheena said, when you keep it in the dark and come out in the light, you don't tell how you did it because you would reveal the darkness. This is why the thought of me, I'm better than you, exists because you don't know the story.
I am the woman who lightens darkness.
Okay. I have come
to lighten the darkness. It is lightened. Okay. And much love to our queen and minister, a sacred minister. I'm also crowned a sacred practitioner, sacred woman practitioner under Queen of Four. For those who don't know, check out Queen of Four, Sacred Woman. And that is part of her consciousness. You know, I am the woman who comes to lighten the darkness. That gives me a real direction and intention around that. And illuminating, African, illuminating and ascending in your consciousness and awakening and blooming as a sacred lotus, Nephra, the sacred lotus blossom of love, truth, harmony, balance, and unto Ra I give my heart. Ra Ashe, the creator, the divine, right, has given all of us. So these are all intentions of our community. And these are things that we really want to start to become, make it muscle memory. And you're going to have to, every 2 or 3 seconds, you're going to have to check in with something because your mind is going to be playing tricks on you. The worst thing about this matrix is that it has gotten into your mind. It's in you almost at a cellular level. So you're going to have to learn to mind your African business.
And it's going to be hard because
it's going to be a challenge.
You want to believe that it's not in every single thing that you deal with.
If you're not one of us, you are one of them.
And it's like,
period.
Like I want to just enjoy this movie right now, but I see all of that consciousness,
all the code
up in this movie. It was a comedy with little puppies and shit. Somehow they fit it in there. You know, that's what it comes up to be in every single thing. Hold on a second, bro. You have to really choose out.
The brother asked, "How we 13% of the population when we've been here for 500 years?" We are. It's 328% of us here. 328%. Like I said, I believe that they're inflating their numbers and they may be diminishing our numbers. But even still, if we were 20%, because at one point there was 4 million, according to their numbers, there was 4 million Africans released at 1865. 4 million. So 4 million Africans in 1865. This is 2020. That was 156 years ago, I think. Let me do that math right quick. 1865.
Yeah, about 100.
I think it was 156 years ago, minus 156. 155.
Yeah.
155 years ago, they claim they released 4 million slaves, people who were stolen. Allegedly, they have the right to release them from being legislated as property, right? So individuals with a diabolical sense of consciousness decided that we can take people and we can write laws that make them property. Like, this is madness, African. You want to understand the concept of this type of madness. We don't really have the difficulty. It's a little bit of a challenge for us to infuse ourselves to contemplate this kind of madness because it's not of our way. But listen to this. A people decided to legislate that we're going to steal these people. We're going to then make science to support that they're not human. And we're going to sell that to all of these other people who look like regular everyday people. They're good church folk. And we're going to make them comply with holding these individuals as property.
As long as we appoint ourselves as authorities, write it down on a piece of paper. It is written,
and
it is so.
And it's so and such and so and such. And that's how it went down. But you know how they did it?
He was like,
they created an army to make sure they can intimidate, bully, and put the hammer down on whoever disagreed. That's how they go. That's the American way. I'm going to walk in your house, and if you don't let me come up in here and take whatever I want, I'll just crack your head and take it anyway.
Look, and they that bold.
If I got a bigger gun than you, I'm just going to take what you got. You better be smarter than me. If I move, you move. If I'm swifter than you, I'm taking what you got. Period. It's mindset.
And that is
the American way.
And that's a genetic emboldenment because, like, you look at for instance, the Botham Jean case, the Amber Geiger. You look at I don't know if you saw the recent video of these two as a white couple walks into this black man's house. First of all, he shouldn't have his doors locked.
It was a B&B.
First off, they walked into this house, and they literally questioned this man. Somebody, does he live there? He's sitting on the couch watching TV. But because they say, oh, yeah, we know the owner of this house, so we just want to make sure nothing's going on. You roll up into somebody's house, you feel that like you could just that free.
It's an Airbnb,
and question somebody.
And this man didn't even tell them that he had people coming to his house. So this is white folks not being conscious of the situation that's going on in the world. You know you got racist ass, redneck ass fucking neighbors. You might want to tell your fucking neighbors, yo, I'm renting my house out for the weekend. I'm gonna have some strangers coming in next door. Keep an eye on the house. Don't disturb my guests. Period. See, because that's a conscious person that knows the world we live in. I'm gonna need you not to pretend that the white bubble that you live in for your white fragility, you don't want to come in contact with the real stickiness that everybody else is experiencing in the world. I'm not dealing with that. Okay, so this is why you have to speak the truth and you have to communicate your experience in a way that doesn't have you throwing out daggers and machete and everybody, because that doesn't work either.
No.
As long as you're building out a conversation of you have a trajectory to sovereignty for the African, anything else that's in your way is an obstacle. You need to navigate the labyrinth and move through the space. You don't need no sticky situations. That's unnecessary. Don't get into sticky situations with the law. Don't have the sticky situation at the job. Don't get into sticky situations that will take you off and you mess around and you lose the battle. You throw the war trying to win battles. Let that go. Keep it clean. Keep your nose clean. Be smart. Don't get into sticky situations with these folks. I'm not talking about respectability politics because I don't feel you have to eat up under nobody's table.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is be strategic.
Strategy for self-preservation.
Don't engage the foolishness. Don't engage. Don't engage. Go ahead.
So Sister Sheena says, this is an interesting point too, because she says not just America, though, because SARS is just that corrupt system that has been in place since 1984. And yes, and that's also absolutely. And what do we have within that? The indoctrination, the colonization that's taking place.
It's the same mechanism.
It's the same mechanism. It works a little differently because it's
like
the colonize and then peace the fuck out. But now the mental work has already been done. The mental work has been done. Colonialism is global, right? The effects of colonialism has been global, right? So one way or another, like you got people in Asia and Korea that look at a remotely darker skinned Asian person who could be light as milk, and they're considered dark skinned, and they have those trepidations around that. So you have these effects of these impacts of colonialism across the globe, and it's just as much as affected our people, our diasporic peoples on the mainland as it does here. And we've also been indoctrinated to not even connect with those particular traumas and the impacts of it. So the African there that's dealt with colonialism doesn't even see the impact of the African here of what they've gone through for the past 400 years. And this is where we have to bring that connection back together. And
it's one
come
nation,
back to one
people.
nation.
And that's why I'm saying if you're on trajectory, so we have the stars, and then the interpretation is a little bit different. You got brown people who have been manipulated for whatever reason, and we got selfishness going on everywhere we go. Everybody think that they're going to somehow,
everyone's
because they're
independent.
looking at the status They're looking at status symbols.
Everyone's an individual.
They're looking at, and that's not our way either. We should know better than that. We should know that we don't take anything that's not going to create help for us all. You don't leave a mother. We don't have wars, and we're not out here killing our warriors because those warriors got to come back to the village and take care of their families.
Right.
They got to go find food for their families. So we're not out here just killing people and leaving whole families without a leader or without a support or a protection. And if that sister so happens that she is now in a situation where she doesn't have protection, she now comes to live with the brother, the brother's family or the sister's family, where her husband will look after her until she gets her a new husband. We don't do stuff like this. It's not in our way to leave our brothers and sisters out there just, any old type of way and vulnerable like that. And we're going to get our fly going. We're going to get our bag and, we just throwing our weight. So when I hear people talking like that, I'm looking at you like you really think you're saying something. And you know what? For all of these people over here, they enamored by that foolishness, but they're also walking sleep. They walk in sleep.
It makes sense to them.
It makes sense to them. Madness makes sense to other people who are mad. It is just what it is. There's nothing I can do about that. I have to acknowledge it because I got to move through the labyrinth.
Insanity is a disruption of that.
Okay, so AfriKAN, Sister Sheena said it's mental health. Yeah, we are profoundly impacted. We have Stockholm syndrome to a I don't know what degree, the degree, and post-traumatic slave syndrome to another degree. And then we have, there's certain behaviors within our community that should actually be triaged and dealt with. We need our Dr. Boyling. We need our Dr. Francis Crest Welsing to be out here diagnosing this psychotic behavior in our community that is in and of itself a detriment to our community as a whole.
Yeah.
When we see people doing craziness and talking crazy like Lil Wayne, he needs to be sent to a center. He needs to be exiled someplace before that foolishness he's talking gets out.
Yeah, because it's dangerous. Now
it's dangerous.
He's been put in a place where his voice actually matters to a large amount of people.
In our community, within our own structure,
young people,
within our own sovereignty, he has to be exiled because we cannot allow that foolishness to get out and become a norm. You see what happens when madness becomes normalized? People have a difficulty even differentiating what makes sense and what doesn't. Up is down, in is out. Cool is bad, bad is good.
Yes is no.
What are you talking about? This is madness, divine order. That's all there is divine order. That's it. That's it. I didn't create the rules. Don't shoot the messenger. We don't do that either.
Brother Arik says imperialist colonialism, neocolonialism, imposed capitalism is the true disease we need to be fighting. I show you. That is what birthed race, and it was not until they created capitalism through grabbing the first African with the purpose of making them a slave that they were able to create this system that keeps us depressed. Come on, somebody, talk to him, Brother Arik. And that's just what it is, exactly. Sister Lois nailed that one. Like it's real. So we have to break free and be mindful of who the actual quote unquote enemy is, right? Who the root cause of these issues are. Because
you know what?
Don't nobody want to hear by everything's out, by everything that's around there, the abstract pieces, all the pieces being thrown at you. That's like you on the chase. Don't
nobody want to hear that.
Right? Like you gotta stay focused on target, family. So.
Nobody wants to hear the enemy and white folks themselves and their good conscience. They definitely don't want to be branded with that mark. So at the end of the day, it's not about them. I told you don't get caught up in the labyrinth. Don't get caught up in the labyrinth.
Because they've already been indoctrinated themselves into a certain way of thinking. So,
they have indoctrination. And
it's on a different side of the spectrum, but they've been indoctrinated just the same to be just as detrimental to our plight. So it's just what it is.
And they have a whole system of behaviors to combat immediately when they show up. When you hear certain things, this is how you process that information. And so does African people. Mm-hmm. See, quickly African people, that's that consciousness. Oh, that's that Hotep. That's that black power stuff. Like this is the stuff that you're talking about. You don't realize that you have black is not a thing, family. Black is not a thing because black doesn't belong anywhere. African has a continent. Africa has a continent. 7 countries can fit into Africa. Africa's landmass is humongous. America can fit into the landmass that is Africa with tons and buku of space to spare. China, Italy, all of these countries can fit into Africa. So what are you doing? Are you deciding to take crumbs when you have access to, like as a community, one African country, one African consciousness? They was trying to give us some leverage. Gaddafi was trying to create leverage for the African diaspora because he understands the global concept. He's trying to get Africa from up underneath any interference from anybody else and make everybody else have to come to our table to have a conversation by creating an African union and creating an African currency backed by gold. You know, America's currency is not backed by nothing. It's just a wishing well. I hope everything works out well. That's it. That's the fullest extent of it. It's entirely, that's it. Enter, that's it. When you're talking about, and they literally went and they got this man, killed this man like this. You can sit on death row here in America for 30 years. We did the same thing to Saddam. But they're telling you about these folks' politics. Just like they came to America and decided they were going to take this land from these folks who are already here, not negotiate. They were not going to negotiate sharing the space. They tried based on their needs initially. Well, we're going to see if we could try to work them, but they know the landscape. They can get away, so they're not really good for us. So what we got to do is we got to get rid of them. If you're going to go over here and get these Africans that are not familiar with this land. This was a diabolical system of thinking and strategy. This is a business plan. Where we're going to find the assets. We're going to go over to Africa. We're going to get the assets from the other tribes that they had tribal wars with, and we're going to bring them over here to America, and we're going to get rid of these indigenous on this land because they're going to be in our way. Because some of our assets been getting loose, and they've been over there mounting up with the other ones. And because they're still kind of same, they know about the landscape, but they're from another continent. They know about herbs and things like that, and how to hide and climb trees and build and manage themselves inside of living in quote unquote, this was there was farmland here. There was a lot of like just open land here. Forestry. The Africans knew how to live in forestry. They knew how to live in forestry here, the indigenous. You got to think about all of this consciousness. So now when you arrive to European people of today, there's only one kind of white. There's only one kind of white. Europeans, white people come from one place, Europe. That's it. They migrate, they live other places now, but white people come from one place, Europe. Wherever they travel to, that's where they travel to. Europe, they're over there with the land mass, that's Russia. They're over there the land mass. This where they from, that area over there, that's it. They migrate, they travel, they bought some land, they deboed some people over there, they stole some stuff over here, they killed a few people over there, they took something over there, but they come from one place. So you get to think about where you are with your conversation. And it's not about we got African blood in this soil, we're not going to leave our ancestors. No, our ancestors was trying to get home. You want to honor your ancestors? Your ancestors were trying to get home. They wasn't trying to get comfortable and integrate here. They were always trying to get home. Maybe you should go home, African. Maybe you should start building up. Maybe you should start building up your own home. Maybe you should start building with your brothers and start healing each other.
Planning what that looks like.
Maybe you should start thinking about that as a consciousness before you out here trying to secure the bag that they could take from you any given day now and throw your butt in concentration camp. Because at this moment,
they'll throw you in a bag.
Africans are not necessary to this particular soil. Unless you tap dancing for the Matrix, there's no use for you.
Sure. So
they don't need as many of us as there is now. So there is a place right now that's putting us in a very vulnerable place where they're now trying to just get rid of some of us. So we're talking about re-educating and we're talking about all these other things. None of that stuff matters. We're no longer necessary. Everybody else immigrated by choice to this land and they want to participate in this system.
Sure.
Figure it out, African. Get clear.
Absolutely. This is Soundbytes International Radio, y'all. You know how we do.
Let's break off that. Let's shake it off. Shake it off.
And by the by, happy Black Solidarity Day.
Okay.
We're standing here today in solidarity one another, unity one another, extracting our energy from these oppressive forces on this day as we look ahead at this election and just going forward and beyond with the what's next, beyond the vote, what's next, what do we do for our people, how do we unify our people to extract ourselves from this oppressive state where there is zero dependency and the only thing we depend on is our people, our brothers, our sisters, and everyone in between, right? So we stand with our people 100% this day and every day. Asheo. And Soundbytes International Radio, our Black consciousness is claiming one world.
And hang out with us. We get ready to do another expose. Okay, watch this. This is not a commercial. We're gonna introduce Double Jeopardy.
Okay. Yes. Absolutely.
Watch
So sit tight with us, family. It's a video we've shared quite a bit. And in looking at this, even recently October, this passing of the anniversary of the the Black Panther Party, the inauguration of that.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a video that was definitely inspired by the movements of the Black Panther Party and our African liberation movements that we've had throughout civil rights history, in an attempt to wake us up and looking at how we get to come together as a people, right? So segueing into that, this piece is sit tight, watch this video. It's called Double Jeopardy. It's by myself and my good sister, Mercer Big Body Benz. You're gonna see some guest stars up in there as well. But really want you to sit tight with it, be with the message, and be with how let this energize you going forward into tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and beyond.
Come on, family, make it a life practice.
So
Muscle memory is the goal.
Absolutely, Ashe. Sit tight with us, family. Watch this. And
take a look. Double Jeopardy, Path P.
Absolutely.
Can do everything right and still be killed. Philando Castile. Even off duty, get shot by the law. They're on small. Shoot you and your baby when they aim. Corinne Gaines. Forget everyone they are hurting. They'll drag your name out in Sterling. Black lives matter. Don't kill me twice. Don't shoot me dead and then assassinate my character.
Black America is after you.
Your hatred has brought us back together. I ain't even mad at you.
A spade, man, they playing our black faces. Red handed, the dirty dealings of the devil. Our hands is lacking aces. Hellbent on the foe, but truth be told, the king backs our graces. Lo and behold, we too bold to be packed on slave ships. Examining history, it's a riding the mystery machine. We end up finding the monsters been among us since the initial scene. Redefine the story, y'all cannot. We move like Argonauts, so unorthodox like Akhenaten. Amen. Pray that we stop. We are the light, dark dwellers, the worship Scarface of Goodfellas. The symbols are assembled to be assimilable. So don't fall victim to subliminals or reinstituted rituals. Parade is biblical, yet steady killing you. Your pill is blue, the ill is you. Stay sleep, they still bullet the bullets from deep to a root. The real is you. Extreme rider, I BMX. Climb mountains like MOK. Won't stop to the war, my people that rest.
Black lives matter. Don't kill me twice. Don't shoot me dead and then assassinate my character.
Black America is after you.
Your hatred has brought us back together. I ain't even mad at you. In unison, if we walk together, we'll be a centipede. 100 feet, these boots were made for walking up a better street. Who's a peon? You are. Let me walk the dog. He was playing God, and we went right along. On our minds, they declared war. We remember who we are now. They picking us off. Don't ignore it until it's your child. I don't wish taking that loss on anyone. You can't bounce back. So where you stand and fight, cause the revolution has a soundtrack. You know I'm right. No toy guns for your sons. You can't allow that. Nah, not after the way they did to Mayor Rice a while back. How do you say, son, you can't always do what your white friends do? Like never reach and announce around cops. They might paint you as a villain and justify your killing. Don't never underestimate the hatred, thinking that they don't have it in them. We close our eyes and listen. Identify with the rhythm. March to the drum, hum and then sing out with conviction. Black lives matter. Don't kill me twice. Don't shoot me dead and then assassinate my character.
Black America is after you.
Your hatred has brought us back together. I ain't even mad at you. I should be though. Looking out my window and it looked like 1960. Will this be the day a pig tell his dog to get me? Man, it has to be the mentality. Make the mistake of thinking you're exempt or safe and be renamed a casualty. I face reality. I couldn't press record, stand idle and watch your brother die in agony. I don't know who to blame no more. The police or the cameraman. Hell, I still don't know what happened to Sandra Bland.
They damning and playing with every man that is killed. Sister gets executed, another youth's blood is spilled. Philando out in a Delron in 1 week, are you kidding? Bloody shame to have on names since this rhyme was first written. It's sickening, no longer enough to continue the picketing. They just killing more niggas, they snickering, no more bickering. The revolution's live, black power times 1 trillion. Black Wall Street sucking dry, this is only the beginning.
Black lives matter, don't kill me twice. Don't shoot me dead and then assassinate my character.
Black America is after you.
Your hatred has brought us back together. I ain't even mad at you.
So 11 minutes.
Yeah, you already know,
yeah,
family.
family.
So Be energized. Be with the fight. Peace and blessings. We'll see y'all with the fire emoji. We appreciate y'all. Let us be
Thank you.
energized.
Please share the video.
Share the
Please
video.
share the
Share the
link.
message if you're vibing with it.
Let's chat it up, family. So this was produced by
Chris Prism. Shouts out to brother Chris Prism.
Right.
Written of course by myself and then sister Mercy Big Body Benz.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that was on the heart to share. It was something on the heart to write and be with. Especially this was 2016. We mentioned brothers Philando, Alton, and Delron. Like those are three brothers that were killed in the same July 4th weekend, 2016, back to back by police. Police gunned down these African men who did nothing. Who were all abiding by the rules, and we're gunned down unjustly, and to this day still have not seen justice.
No, neither
Three
one
of the many over that time span since Trayvon, since Mike Brown, just like since Fakia, but all those people that were gunned down over there. Sandra Bland was the year before. So it was on our heart to make that piece and to share with the people and to be in alignment and energy. We're looking at the economic spaces of all the African businesses that you saw at the end of the video. From radio to restaurants to education, shout out to Nicholas for education and apparel and oils and everything in between. Nicholas Bookstore, shouts out to them. To coffee shops, Ian's and everyone. So Bonfire Radio. So it was an opportunity to give this energy to the people and just bring the healing. Do what we can with our voices, right? If you have the art, we want to infuse the people in that way. That's what we want to do. So again, Soundbytes International Radio, Black consciousness, African consciousness is the claim.
One world is the aim,
family. So again, tune in this Wednesday for African in Business.
For our Black man bekeeper, Apiary in the
brother
sky.
Marcellus, Apiary in the sky. We're excited to have him on and chat with him. Such a down earth, cool brother. And a true intellect and true care. Cares for the land and for the people. So we're excited to have his energy on the show this Wednesday. So please tune in for that episode.
And share the link.
Share the sound bites. Follow all the pages. You want to do it again? Right,
share the pages
because we're gonna get ready for it. Feel the heat. So again, follow and like us on Facebook, Soundbytes INTL Radio.
Invite your friends also to like the page. That's the only way that we get
the page and follow
to
the
expand
content.
the conversation. It's literally the work to do to expand the conversation.
Also, I didn't do this earlier. Follow the Instagram, Soundbytes International Radio. Follow us on Instagram,
on the gram. We're on the gram,
Radio,
family.
all together. Soundbytes with a Y. You see that on the screen. Also follow us on Twitter, Soundbytes INTL, Soundbytes International Radio on YouTube. Please subscribe and get your people to subscribe. We're trying to get those subscriber numbers up. So once we get over 100, we can start customizing in a real way and really give y'all the meat and potatoes of this thing. So please get this subscribe on. I didn't even put it up there. Yeah, there you go. Subscribe.
Thank you.
And also, again, remember to visit our website. This is soundbytes.com. We can follow our podcast. Soundbytes International Radio,
Spotify,
the audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where you can get this content audio format and share in the conversations everywhere you go. Also, remember to visit keystosword.com to stream the Nephra.
Feel Me EP.
Her Queen Deferred Feel Me EP is available now. It's a project we produced. 6 tracks, 23 minutes of meditative energy, some excerpts from her poetry series, the Queen Deferred Poetry series from Volume 3, which is on its way in the book format. But these are some 6 excerpts to get you in tune with what's going on. We suggest just, if you're ready to meditate and relax, sit with it, pop it on, and just take a listen. So please make sure you visit Keys to Soar, KEYS2SOAR.com/Feel Me EP to download that today. Purchase and download that today. Remember, purchases support sustainability to these independently owned processes and operations.
Trust me.
And leave a comment. There's an option.
Value.
There's an option on the page to leave comments and leave your reviews. We appreciate that. So please leave a comment on the page. Visit the page, say leave a comment, download the purchase and download the EP. Let us know what you think. So we try to give this offering to the people. So
give thanks. Adding value, family.
Absolutely. So again,
to that healing journey.
We thank y'all. Thank everybody for joining us in the comments here. We appreciate y'all. Brother Arik, Sister Lotus, Sister Sheena.
Okay, Sister Janelle came in this week. That's Janelle.
Oh, Janelle. Okay. Sister Janelle, Brother Rob, Brother Kwame, we appreciate everyone, for all of y'all for joining in.
Well, those who jumped in the conversation, yeah, man.
If you just watching, we appreciate you watching. We hope you can jump into the conversation one day and share with us. So, right. So we thank y'all once again for Soundbytes International Radio. Black Conscious Claim, One World is the Aim. So join us this Wednesday again. African in Business. Okay, I thought that was we was going out to. Okay.
We're gonna go out to I am. You know how we do. We're gonna leave on a high note, family.
Okay, so we're gonna let
Stay
it rock.
focused. We're gonna clear up our energy, and we're gonna move into self-determination on the trajectory as a team player.
All right.
On the trajectory for our sovereignty.
Please
check out the I Am journey, the real Nyan Bricks.
One love. Sit tight, family.
Stephanie, you know what it is. You know what it is. She like, yeah.
This which makes people ask who sent you. I tell them I am. They tell me that's a cute affirmation, but it's not an answer. I reply,
thank you, Sister Sheena, for sharing with us.
Is your answer.
Let's go.
The power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength I have. None of the truth can deny that. Hear the proof in the hi-hat. Internal reflection, I digress. I love me more, never love less. I love me more, never love less. Turn up, $1 million dream, get how I manifest it. Look deep inside, yeah, you be the blessing. $1 million dream, get how I manifest it. Anything I want, get turn up. This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that
Blessing, Brother Tommy. We appreciate you. Thank you for enjoying and tuning in with us. We appreciate you. More to come. Please stay tuned with us. Share with your family.
This is without morale so low. So I pitched it fast, pitch it slow. To the cows call home, bro. It didn't make sense. I was told as a child I wouldn't be shit. Revenge on my mind, start flipping the script. They fed me lies, started picking that shit. They treated me different, I embraced that shit. You know the ones that be closest to you, to be the family ties. Say goodbye, saying plenty murder, dirty service, ludicrous. Cock up with a dirty burn up a better.
Yes, you should join Lotus.
See what I was saying again. Ever since killing these niggas with their toxicness while I'm popping piss over monotonous. Told myself I couldn't rock with this. Hanging with goofies couldn't get rich. True blood suckers couldn't see bliss, couldn't see shit. Stole face, nigga.
They're wrong.
I ain't regurgitating, percolating, singing the same song. I'm blessed all day long, rain all day long. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Nigga, I am. Some people might say I'm wise. Well, they're absolutely right. I am wise. I said washed, cleansed, and purified of the nonsense they tried to attach to my context. I am resilient. I am more than a survivor. I am a thriver. This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny that. Yeah, the proof in the high reflection, I digress. I love me more, never love less. I love me more, never love less. Turn up, $1 million dreams, yeah, how I manifest it. Look deep inside, yeah, you be the blessing. $1 million dreams, yeah, how I manifest it. Anything I want, yeah, turn up. This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am. Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny the power of I am. She's a grind. I'm totally surprised that I ain't lost my mind. Had to take setbacks and I gave jetpacks and no planes don't fly. Now I'm in no things, so wasting my time. Focus my clothes into ship paradigms. My get up and go to keep my folks from dying. So I'm on the road with a goal to refine. Yeah, riding with a mean vision. Infected from every day, go through a clean prison. Plus matter reflected in jack the color of green. When I lost my mother, probably designed my queen, and I laid it on my brother.
Driver.
Shaking up the grand scheme.
Driver.
In a matter
Don't
of
stop
time,
it, dog.
now my everyday march to do the damn thing. So my aim is to pack it up in your arena. Inspire the future leaders with every line of the levers of God and unbelievers. Do what they can conceive us. Know what we do and leave us. Brick, you never see us. Woo! God damn, I'm feeling good, motherfucker. What they say, I'm doing what they never would. Yeah. Get a grasp on your life, yeah. They made a sacrificial prices. Go to your done, play it nice, yeah. They go recognize who the nice is. From the north to the southeast, kicking the deserving lane, share about seats. I'm aligned with it, man. You can't outbeat it. They won't get I ain't talking in terms of I wish, I want to, or even I will anymore.
What you say?
Things I proclaim, I do. I have and I am. I do as my ancestors instruct.
What else?
I have all I need to affect change.
Okay.
And I am a living magnification of God. This is the power of I am. This is the greatness of I am.
Yes.
Look at the strength that I have. None of the truth can deny that. Yeah, the proof in the high hat.
Okay, love this. She like, yeah.
I love me more, never love less. I love me more, never love less. Turn up.
$1 million dreams, yeah, I manifest it.
Look deep inside, yeah,
You be the blessing.
$1 million dreams, yeah.
I manifest it.
Anything I want, yeah.
This is the power of I am.
This is the greatness of I am.
This is the strength that I have.
Let's you gonna check that out, brother. One love, family. You already know how it is. Soundbytes National Radio. Join us this Wednesday once again, 9 p.m., 8 p.m. in Scott for African in Business. And join us, of course, next week, next Monday for another Soundbytes episode at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna be marching with the people this weekend, so we're gonna have some stuff to talk about. So let's believe that.
Black is back. Black is back.
Shout out to the Black is Back Coalition. So we in there. You in there.
And shout out to the People's Organization for Progress, who was on deck today, Monday. It was break.
One love, yo. Standing in the fight.